Hi, everybody. We're the Skeleton Crew. Happy Fossil Friday. There is, for the first time in a little while now, new Jurassic World Evolution 2 news to report. And we are going to try our damnedest to not speak for 45 to 50 minutes about a 30-second video clip. Let's see how it goes. Let us know in the comments if we succeeded.
Let us know by reading the runtime of this video if we succeeded. This will be a mystery to us.
I'm going to edit this tonight so that it comes up on Fossil Friday. I am not going to look at the final runtime of the video. You will be the first person who tells me. So please let us know. Now, this is an entirely marine species pack, which is very exciting. It looks like they've made some modifications to the game that I'm excited for. And a lot of these animals look really cool. But before we play the video for you, a brief reminder that I'm Dr. James Napoli. I'm a postdoctoral researcher at the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences and North Carolina State University.
You don't have to think about this until after you've seen the video, but my name is Amelia Zietlow. I'm a PhD candidate at the American Museum of Natural History in New York City.
You already knew this, and I imagine you can say my line for me. But in the event that you can't, my name is Scott Johnston. I am the vertebrate paleontology, fossil preparator, and technician at Harvard University's Museum of Comparative Zoology.
For just this video, I am Neptune, king of the sea, with my cockerel crown and trident of coral, and beard full of seaweed.
And I'm Dalton Meyer. I grew up in a landlocked state, and I'm not much familiar with these big ol' waters. But together.
Big water?
We're the Skeleton Crew!
Alright guys, you want to see the trailer?
Hark!
Yeah, we haven't already seen it.
We have not.
This is our first.
All of us are seeing this for the first time now. Now here's the thing, I'm going to play it through twice, and then we can talk about it.
Okay.
Oh my god, it's 30 seconds.
Alright.
Opening shot. Water. Zooming.
Oh my god, it's enormous.
Fish. A lizard, I guess. Fish.
Fish.
Literal fish.
Grandpa.
Nobody knows what that is.
Caracosta. That's the name of the Pokemon, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Wow. Ain't that something?
Again.
Oh, wait. Everyone, if you're watching the video, pause it when Jimbo plays the video back.
Was one of them just the metal pipe falling sound effect? I think it was.
What can we infer about James Napoli based on his YouTube viewing history?
Wait,
Okay,
James,
now-
is this your personal channel?
I am logged in on the Skeleton Crew YouTube.
That's even worse.
We're all responsible for this.
We're all
shit.
complicit.
Oh god,
go out of my
I
way
think
to
I
make sure
accidentally
that's
was
weird.
logged. Oh, I whenever it's weird, it's accidental for me. Like when James was like, "Hey Scott, I think you were logged in for a bit the other day." It was like, "Oh, why?" He was like, "There was a video essay that was like 3 hours long that was watched in our history." I was like, yep.
I think I had
The other day,
one-
there's a Destiny build.
I think I had one where you guys were asking who was watching videos of cats in the shower. And it was because someone was asking me, like, what my cat sounded like when I took her to the vet. And because she had, like, that kind of whale sound. Like, you know, when cats are getting wet and they don't want to be. And it's really sad. So I was trying to find the right video.
Okay.
I have our channel is subscribed to several channels that have been because I've been watching, and I didn't realize I was signed into the Skeleton Crew. And I'm like, wait, I thought I was subscribed already. Let me subscribe now.
I might have done that too.
Yeah, listen, we all make mistakes sometimes, and one of them was getting the metal pipe sound effect by downloading a YouTube video that I watched while I was logged in on the Skeleton Crew account. Anyway, we're gonna watch the trailer again now.
You wouldn't download a pipe.
I would.
Water.
Aye, Captain.
So we've got Shonisaurus. It looks
Wow.
beautiful.
It's Nothosaurus.
It's a dunkle.
Dunk.
Dunkleosteus.
Clearly, the character artist did not see our videos.
It's Mitch
And
McConnell.
Archelon.
No.
Look, they're just standing there motionless.
I was about to say he moved. He can't be Mitch.
I also want to call attention to the 1 hour of
I
silence.
saw
Occasionally.
Whose fault is that? I was watching the video that we're releasing next, and
This is
I
One
saw
Direction
that.
story of my life.
That was me.
All right, guys.
Are you motherfuckers watching you're logged into the channel?
on accident? Yeah.
That one was intentionally to with the algorithm.
Oh, that's funny. So what happens for me is that like I'll upload a video and you have to sign in, and I always have like 3 or 4 other YouTube tabs because I've always got some deck ready to go just whenever my brain starts to function and I need it to stop. And if you sign in one tab, it signs you back in all the others. So like retroactively, it makes it skeleton crews. If you don't make an effort to sign out, you're still signed in.
All right. Well, I think we could do the thing now where we go through.
Indeed.
I'll scrub through.
You remember how to do that, right, James? It's the period and period and comma for frame by frame. Yeah,
I do. So we see
Snoot.
a snout, a snoot, a snoodle.
So what's interesting about the location of this snoodle is I saw someone point out, this is not my original observation, the Shonisaurus is in a lagoon with the shark feeder.
That's probably wrong if it's implying what we think it's implying.
Wait, I didn't hear what you said.
The Shonisaurus is pictured in a lagoon with the shark feeder.
I just realized, I'm sorry to interrupt, I realized why I recognized the color scheme. It's a penguin.
Oh, it is.
Now, Dalton, I'm going to offer a little bit of pushback on that observation. Not that you didn't see a shark feeder, I think you did. But in the description that Frontier offers, they kind of like, the only defense this creature would have is its great size against other predators. I think it sounds like they're going to be giving it a kind of a gentle giant vibe, I think.
I think so too.
But I hope it doesn't have eat from the shark feeder because it shouldn't.
Well, it had teeth.
It had teeth.
Don't we like?
I don't know that we're actually that.
No, we. So Shonisaurus was thought not to have teeth. It does. Shastosaurus is short-faced and apparently doesn't have teeth, and is also, depending on how big this one in the game is, I think it's a species of Shastosaurus, which is the one that's like pushing almost 70 feet, and not Shonisaurus. But like the biggest Shonisaurus are still like.
Oh, they're still like
feet, like enormous, like whale-sized.
They're like sperm whale size.
If you want to hear more about this, watch the video we make.
The one that
we're going to keep it short. Every time we start, I'm just going to say that, and then we'll stop, and then you'll have to watch the next video, our content.
Yeah. I mean, we'll obviously be covering these things. We'll have to, we're going to have to rejig a little bit of the release schedule to accommodate them, but it'll be worth it. Yeah, so this is very cool. I think this is a very cool animal to include, and it feels a little bit like a no-brainer for this game.
Mm-hmm.
To have like a stupendously large ichthyosaur.
I mean, the game has a lack of ichthyosaurs in general. Honestly, they could afford to do like 4 or 5 more of them.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I would be very pro that, but it makes sense to me that if they're going to do only one more, they go with one of these that's like a spectacular size. Like ichthyosaurs are interesting because they seem to be one of the first instances of like vertebrate extreme size. Right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I don't think.
Yeah.
I think they are the first.
They are.
Yeah.
Right,
because
this
the marine
is
realm.
These animals. Ichthyosaurs are what are the earliest ones? Early Triassic or latest Permian?
I mean, what do you mean?
We have
like, earliest members of the clade Ichthyosauria.
We have fossils in the earliest Triassic, but that implies that they're in the late Permian. If memory serves.
I mean, Sauropterygians also have like representation like that.
Right. I guess what I'm saying is like specifics be damned. Maybe these are.
Pardon me.
Sorry. These are tremendously ancient animals. Like, they're age of dinosaurs, but like I think Alex brought this point up when we talked about Herrerasaurus, that like Herrerasaurus is an ancient animal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this is a rough contemporary of that. This is existing during what we call the age of dinosaurs, but T-Rex is not only closer to us in time, but it's way closer to us in
So
time.
for this guy, for example, because this is late Triassic, which is also something I really quite like about this pack. When I was thinking, I'm like, oh, they'll probably do an aquatic pack at some point. I really want it to be mostly Triassic because the weird aquatic stuff's in the Triassic. But like, if you were to think about it, kind of using the Parasaurus framing, like Tylosaurus lives closer in time to like the blue whale than Tylosaurus did to this giant stupid fish.
Multiple times over.
Yeah.
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 And it's cool because Shonisaurus kind of represents, like, before dinosaurs were even really anything to write home about, like ichthyosaurs had experienced like rapid diversification. They were coming into their own, and then they're like, man, everything sure is looking good. And then the diversity apparently collapses by the Jurassic. There's still a ton of them, but like there's like really this really interesting early diversity. And Shonisaurus is kind of represented that. We'll talk about it more.
We'll talk about it more in our video too, but they've seemed to have done like an amazing job with this design. Look at its eye.
Yeah.
It really
gorgeous.
has a lot of life.
Let me look at the eye.
Excuse me.
Ooh, look at that.
They also they do at least like the tail looks good too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, it looks like they did a really good job with it, which is obviously a bonus for me, like having it look like a plausible version of the animal.
Ooh.
I think that's probably the ultimate guiding factor of a lot of my voting decisions in the tier list. It's generally like, I don't care about necessarily accuracy unless, like, I'm not going to look at a skeletal to decide how I feel about the design. If there's something that's wrong, I see, I'll point it out. But I care about it feeling like the real animal could have looked like this. Mm-hmm. And in this case, I think they've done an amazing job with it. I mean, we don't really get to see the whole thing in the trailer, but we will, and we'll make a video about it. God, it's beautiful.
Not only is this a like plausible reconstruction of this animal, I like the fact that it's specifically a modern plausible reconstruction of this animal, because one of the things that like kind of changed with our understanding of Shonisaurus as we learn more about it is, y'all remember those like reconstructions of Shonisaurus from back in the day where they were like real big and fat, or like real round, like real tall, like fucking mola shaped sort of guys? Like that has since been kind of like fallen out of favor and shown to not even fallen out of favor. We have loads of fossils of this thing, and shown to not be the case. And that I like that this is like a modern reconstruction of this animal as well, which is neat.
Yeah.
I just remembered something we could get to talk about now that this animal's in the game.
Yeah.
What's that?
Palettes.
A certain creature. A certain creature doing art in the late Triassic.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
Oh God, no, not the Kraken.
The Triassic Kraken, baby.
I forgot.
I never forget. Here's a fun fact about ichthyosaurs. They don't have ectopterygoids. They're like birds and captorinans. I don't know why they don't have them. It doesn't make any sense.
Oh my God, maybe they are birds.
Speaking of penguins, spoiler for slightly later in the video, but they show like those little islands you can hop up on. Mm-hmm. And that has made me kind of hope for a Hesperornis in the future.
Me too.
Maybe some marine crocodile. Please, there are no crocodiles in the game. There are no Pseudotsuchians.
Oh, well, the closest we can get, at least in terms of vibes, is our next dude.
Yeah.
Right, we've got Nothosaurus. So is this? I haven't watched Camp Cretaceous. Is this the design from Camp? Wow, I can't speak at all. Camp Cretaceous.
Camp Cretaceous.
More like Cramp Cretaceous.
Is this the design from the show?
Yes.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of been kind of de-cartoonified a bit, and I think
slightly.
Yeah, and in a way that's a little more satisfying than the Monolothosaurus.
Right, because the Monolothosaurus really still feels very cartoony.
Well, yeah, there's the one that's like very explicitly from the show, and then there's the one that's kind of like the other skin that's supposed to be a little more.
Mm-hmm.
Now, yeah, I have not seen the episodes of Camp Cretaceous where this creature is in, but I did look up some photos when they announced the the kind of they teased it yesterday. I'm like, oh, maybe we'll finally get Nothosaurus because I know that's in there. I think it's the one I'm probably the least excited about, but I think it's good, and I'm happy to have more Triassic guys.
I like the skin texture.
They did a solid job. Like, I like the skin texture as well. Okay, people who know a bit more about this critter, what the hell is up with its like rear fangs?
I'm looking closely.
Like, I'm used to my
analyzing.
I'm used to my marine reptiles having kind of that like rosette of big needly teeth up at the front, and this guy has that, and then he just has two back behind the eye. Like, is that a thing?
It definitely has a second kind of. I'm looking at a fossil of one species that has at least one fang-like tooth behind the front ones. I can't tell at this angle where it is in relation to the eye, but
I think it's. So there are several species of Nothosaurus.
Oh, there's like a dozen.
Yeah, and I think I have the skull of, well, for my palette stuff. But yeah, so it seems that I think some of the larger species, possibly Nothosaurus giganteus or whatever it is, but they have these big huge maxillary teeth that are like right under the orbit.
Mm.
Or well, it kind of looks like a little bit interior to the orbit.
It does?
In the fossils.
Oh, okay.
Now, maybe it's hard to tell because we're kind of looking at this thing at a weird angle.
Right.
And when we actually talk about this, we can have a fun discussion about, Nothosaur hands.
Yeah. I'm curious.
What are they doing?
I'm very excited to see it in game, walking on the little platform, because looking at pictures, I also haven't seen the episodes of Camp Cretaceous with it, but looking at photos of it walking, it has a very upright posture.
So it does look to me like those fangs are posterior to the orbit.
That's how they are in the Camp Cretaceous model that I'm looking at.
Yes, that's why I say it's the Camp Cretaceous one, because it has those pair of fangs posterior to the orbit there.
Yeah, at least they're there.
Yeah, I mean, I like the model. I think it echoes the cartooniness it comes from a little bit much for my liking, but honestly, Nothosaurs are kind of goofy looking animals anyway.
It's a goofy critter.
Huge
and very
teeth.
Successful.
Are they...
I don't want to steal...
Sorry, I'm gonna ask a stupid question. They're basal sauropterygians, right?
They're eosauropterygians. I think there's some contention on what is a quote unquote basal sauropterygian.
Okay, I meant
there's all
more
this stuff
so like
referred to it. But yeah, they're outside.
They're related to plesiosaurs.
They're outside.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think at least some studies find them as the sister group to plesiosaurs, or to plesiosauria. Yes.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, sort of. There's like pistosaurs. There's a whole fucking diversity of stuff. But yeah, I mean, this is what the ancestral.
Watch our Attenborosaurus video for more on that.
And the eventual video on this.
Because they have choani where they're supposed to be. And sauropterygians of a later time do not.
It's 9:30 at night. Do you know where your choani are?
Which I'll discuss in a maybe video about Elasmosaurus when we get to it.
So I think the thing that I want to just bring up now in relation to Amelia's point is that while I don't think these are necessarily agreed upon to be basal sauropterygians phylogenetically, I would imagine that this is probably the ancestral body plan being preserved in this group.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so regardless of...
Sorry, yeah.
Right. So I mean, I think there's, and this is one of the reasons that I try to not say primitive when I mean a phylogenetic position. I use primitive more as a qualifier to describe the interpretation or the vibe of the morphology.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets back, we recorded Pyroraptor not too long ago, and that video is out now. So there we talk about the basal dromaeosaurids, Halschiraptorians and Logians, probably don't really preserve the ancestral body plan of what a dromaeosaurid is.
Right.
Microraptorians appear to, and they are the sister group to Eudromaeosaurs, which don't preserve the basal body plan either. I think it would probably not be wrong to call this a primitive sauropterygian in terms of the body plan, because this is probably what plesiosaurs are coming from. even if they're not basal Sauropterygians phylogenetically, even if they're further up the tree, because this group, to my knowledge, the group including Nothosaurs and their closest relatives doesn't make it out of the Triassic, right?
Nothosaurs, no, yeah, they perish.
Yeah.
Right. So had this group persisted, it's possible they would have done their own. They would have gone on to their own marine body plan. I don't think they had.
So like Nothosaurs are the big and kind of very charismatic ones, but they're sister to plesiosaurs, I think, most of the time, which are small and goddamn everywhere. Like these would have, if you threw a fishing line into a mid Triassic sea, you'd probably get one of these little weirdos. And yeah, I just looked it up because I wanted to be sure, and these appear to be sister to pistosaurs, plus like up through plesiosaurs, and then placodonts are the earliest diverging Eosauropterygians.
I want to talk about a weird bastard. Yeah.
I do not want to talk about placodonts. We're moving on.
That's fair. I do have a question about Nothosaurus here. So we haven't seen it explicitly do it, but we've talked about how it can probably walk up on that little island thing, and it could probably do it a little bit easier than Archelon can.
It's confirmed to be able to, by the way.
It is. Oh, fantastic. So, posing a question. Do we think that this is the first marine species that can escape and kill people?
Oh.
I doubt it. I think that these platforms are probably a pretty limited.
No. I don't mean from the platform. I mean, like, do we think that it could get mad enough that like with the other marine species, if you get them mad enough, they just uselessly slam their heads against the side of the wall. They'll never be able to break out. Like Sisyphus shit. I wonder if this guy could just go whoop over and then start eating people.
I mean that I think the behavior for the animal going on land is probably going to be restricted to these special platforms.
It could be.
I think it will, but sorry, Amelia, delay. You go ahead.
No, I was just it could be, but I don't know. That's all I was going to say.
Yeah. I think I could imagine Frontier putting a special animation like that in, because like we know Frontier does that for a lot of DLC animals. Like things get special animations and special behaviors. I wouldn't be let me put it this way. I don't think it's that way, but I wouldn't be surprised.
And so far, there haven't been any animals in this game that have specific like looped animation sets for things.
Right.
That have specific what?
Like looped animation sets, like they get into a fixed animation set when interacting. Like I mean, like how they had the pterosaurs in the previous game, where or like the exhibit animals in Planet Zoo. I don't know why I said exhibit weird there. Exhibit.
Now, what I think might be an option, and this is something Dalton and I kind of talked about earlier, and it'd be cool if pterosaurs can land on them.
That'd be so.
God, I hope so.
If there's a way, I want so desperately them to add because I know that whenever they release these DLCs, they always add like a quality of life update as well. I would sell my soul if they could allow you to make a joint aviary lagoon. Because I want to make a cool Western interior seaway exhibit so bad, with the Pteranodon and Geosternbergia flying over the Archelon and the Styxosaurus and all that. God,
and maybe we get some interaction between like
that would be great.
Swimmy and Fly. What I think might happen, because, well, I guess I'll save this for later in the trailer.
Okay.
Because we'll see it.
Well, I'm hopeful that if Frontier doesn't do that, if that's not something that's native, the fact that they're adding these platforms will hopefully give like modders a whole new playground to to make that happen.
Yeah, and because it's also like this is a marine pack, we're getting updates to the marine things as we see. In especially the screenshots. So again, because it's a marine pack, do you think that they're going to add a special feeder and allow us to give the dinosaurs crayons?
Anyway, so moving on to Dunkleosteus. We've talked about Dunkleosteus a lot on this channel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you like Dunkleosteus, you should refer back to our video where we talked to Russell Engelman, who recently published an excellent study revising the estimates for the body size of this animal.
That they did not read.
They did not read Russell's paper, and they did not watch our video about it. Or maybe this all happened too late in the design pipeline to be changed. But
Probably.
Or maybe they have very strong feelings about it.
maybe. I will say it's a beautiful model of a version of Dunkleosteus that probably didn't exist.
Yep.
It looks very nice.
This looks great.
Especially the head.
The head looks really, really nice. I like the color scheme. It feels very fishy.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really appreciate that they didn't do the stereotype meme thing of just putting the plates external. Like, they actually have them covered with soft tissue in a way that looks very natural.
Yeah, I love the beautiful visible wear facet on the cranial plates. Like, what are these? The nathal plates? Is that what they call them?
I think so.
I think that's the term. Like, you can just...
Sorry, the naval plates?
Nathal.
Oh.
Or,
okay.
or nathal.
Okay. I dislike both of those, but in different ways.
Sorry. Well, choose which one you dislike more.
I don't like how Jimbo said sorry. There was too much sass to it.
I'm sorry.
That's
been
better.
too long on Long Island. Yeah, I just think this is a beautiful design. I don't really have much to say about it. It's just very, very well done. It has a lot of care given to it. It seems to be a high effort design.
It's the oldest thing in the game.
It's also the first It's the first fish. I was gonna go broader with that, but I forgot Dimetrodon exists. I was gonna say it's the first non-reptile, but then, well.
Yeah, well, it's
first
the first
first non-tetrapod.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, no, and I mean, as Dalton said, oldest in the game by far.
By a lot.
Like, almost doubling the age, right?
It's...
Well, counting Dimetrodon.
It's 50 million years older than Dimetrodon.
Oh, right. I was forgetting Dimetrodon.
Also, that's kind of wild that... Okay, maybe more like 60 or 70. That's distressing.
How close those are?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
like
it's only 60 or 70 million years. It's about the same as us and T-Rex. Like, it's not that close.
No, but I see what Alex means. Like, Dimetrodon feels like it's a version of the world that's at least somewhat recognizable. Dunkleosteus to me has always felt like some sort of primordial beast that we shouldn't really know about.
Well, yeah, it evolved before teeth. Like,
right. I mean, it's such an alien animal.
Yeah, I mean, right? Like, when this animal was alive, because these are fun to do, dear viewer, there wasn't... The air was silent of bird song. There were maybe some bugs flying around. No reptiles, no mammals, no birds.
This is before trees, too, right?
No.
Okay.
No, there would have been trees, like plants making trees by like the mid-Devonian, and there are late Devonian.
I forgot that it was
Dunkleosteus is Emsian to Femenian, I want to say. So like 380-ish to 360 million years ago. I only know this because of the Eurypterid stuff. I don't memorize the little names for the Paleozoic, usually.
Yes, you do, you nerd.
It's a profoundly, like, I mean, I've said this now multiple times, but this is a profoundly ancient animal. Like, this animal did not live on a version of the Earth that we would even recognize as the planet we live on.
Yeah.
Jawless armored fish were still around. I don't know if they were as abundant by the end. There were still, there were some sea scorpions left in the terrestrial realm. Trilobites are still kicking.
There are conodonts.
Yeah. I mean,
everyone's favorite animal.
I think at this point, if I'm not getting my chronology mixed up, like vertebrates had just started becoming somewhat able to walk on land. Like, there's not. Yeah. Like, it's still mostly a world with no vertebrate terrestrial life. it's probably limited to coastal areas or estuarine environments.
Yeah, you don't have any like. There's nothing laying eggs. There's and anything that's.
Oh no, not
the
at
tetrapods
all.
are wet boys.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think this gets back to the point we bring up in the Chinjausaurus video about the evolution of Earth's terrestrial environments. But like, if you go back to about 70 million years ago, give or take a couple million, like you can just film that on Earth today in a lot of locations and have it be reasonably accurate in terms of the kinds of plants that you'd see in the diversity of environments. For most of the Mesozoic, there are areas on Earth now that are reminiscent of what the world would have looked like. It gets harder as you go back further. This is an alien planet.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There is nowhere on Earth that will look like what the Devonian looked like.
So basically, like the closest I think we can get to approximating like the kinds of plants that were around at this time are tree ferns, and even that's not quite right. Like, so tree ferns are ferns that grow in a tree growth form, but they are spore plants. They're not seed plants, so they're like really, really primitive plants. But during the Devonian, I believe at this time the dominant trees were horsetails, which are not like a step below even ferns. Like, we're talking basically like a step above moss. Like, we're a little above moss here. They've got vasculature, or like proper vasculature, but they're so weird. And like, I know like a lot of museums have like little walk through Devonian forests. And they're like, look at this plant, and no one really pays attention. And because they look like trees, because they're plants that are growing tall and have leaves and fronds, like we recognize them without actually knowing what they are. It's hard to comprehend how different they really are. And like, for me thinking about it, I'm wondering like, what the hell, like, must the environment have been like for a horsetail to grow that big? Because think of horsetails today, they're small. If you've ever seen them, they're just kind of like little bushes basically at their tallest. And that's, because they're not as efficient about carrying water around. They're a primitive vascular plant. Yeah, it's bizarre.
Yeah. If you really want to think about how weird it is, the biggest life forms on land were fungi.
Oh, right. Those big fungi towers.
Prototaxites, which is just like a big column of fungus.
Also,
that's so cool.
This thing's definitely eating at the shark feeder, right?
Oh, I hope so.
It has to.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
I hope it just cleaves it in half.
I really hope, because like with the mosasaurus and with the Kronosaurus, like both of them, but especially the Kronosaurus, kind of struggle at it a little bit, just kind of like waving around it, especially the Kronosaurus does it like a dog. I really hope this thing just goes up and is just like shink, and then it just falls just right back down. It's just gone.
I love it. I love him.
I mean, we don't get a great idea for how big it's going to be, and I'm even in just thinking about the shark feeder. Didn't we, in a conversation with Russell, ask him if like we thought this thing could jump out of the water?
I don't believe so.
Am I misremembering that?
Maybe
okay.
it personally, but not in the video. I don't think.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Amelia, you were going to say something.
Oh, I was just going to say that I love it, and I think it's very cool. And like, a tiny part of me, after seeing the trailer, is disappointed that the shark tail was not Zafactinus. I'll get you there for a minute. I don't give a shit. Megalodon. Zafactinus is very cool, and I love it dearly. And I was really, really, really hoping we would get it because, Seaway. But this is lovely.
That would have been so cool.
It would have been
I was
so
hoping for
cool.
Megalodon.
Oh my god. Zafactinus, to sidetrack very briefly about Zafactinus, it is super cool. It's very common, which leads some field paleontologists to become exasperated with it in the same way that... Who will remain nameless. But like in the same way that sometimes you hear Hell Creek paleontologists get upset about Triceratops because we just find them constantly.
Turtles.
Yeah, like, I don't know. But Zafactinus is very cool. It is in desperate need of modern research. There are so many of them. The Sternberg Museum has, in Kansas, has teeny tiny little jaws of Zafactinus, like that big, and they're so cute. And if fish weren't so scary and horrible and difficult, I would consider doing something with them. But for now, I will just admire them from a distance.
So the last animal in the game that's being added now is Archelon. I said this in a previously recorded version of the video that needs to be re-edited because Alex's computer decided to stop playing all audio until it was rebooted. Please donate to our Patreon. This is a good time to mention. Donate to our Patreon so Alex can afford to buy a computer that has working audio. It really helps us out when Alex has a computer with working audio drivers that don't need to be reinstalled prior to every recording session, and sometimes midway through them.
Forget about it.
Wait, do you genuinely need to reinstall your audio drivers every single time we do this?
No. We had an error once, and I thought the solution was to reinstall the audio drivers. And I think in doing so, I've supremely f***ed up, because now it's a disaster.
Of all the things, I've never heard audio being this difficult.
It's fine. We're moving on.
We're moving on.
It's ancient history.
Speaking of more ancient history,
Archelon.
the boy.
I love the name Archelon. I think it's one of the most perfect genus names that's ever existed. For it to be the largest turtle that ever existed, to be named king turtle or ruling turtle, and to have the two words flow into each other like that. I love Archon is the Greek word for ruler, and Chelon is turtle, so it's Archelon. I love it. It's beautiful. And the animal is depicted both in a beautiful way and what appears to be a quite accurate way. Now, I want to preface this. None of us are experts on turtles, and I'm certainly not.
I just like turtles.
Although, so what I will say is from my research into it. Oh, yes. So from looking into it, one of the things that really stuck out to me about the depiction of Archelon here is exactly that. How weird and pronounced and like ceratopsian or parrot-like that beak looks, which is correct. Archelon has a very profound and like forward projecting beak that is often compared to like birds of prey and stuff. And it's weird, and they did it perfectly. Like, this is an almost flawless depiction of Archelon. They did an amazing job. Literally, my only complaint with it is not even seen on screen. It's something that they mention in the little like blurb on their website about it. Is they say that it was a strong and fast swimmer. It was not.
And some evidence.
It was a slow.
Sorry.
What was that?
Sorry, Amelia. You go ahead.
Some evidence
it's a delay
for
thing.
the
Go ahead.
fact that it was a slow swimmer is the fact that we find so many of their fossils and the fossils of their relatives like torn by other things living in the seaway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they probably weren't. I don't think these were speed demons.
Raviolis.
Here's a little secret about me. I've never really liked turtles a particular amount, with the exception of sea turtles, which I think are absolutely gorgeous. I remember having a moment going to my childhood aquarium when they have, this is for those of you in the New York area, I guess it's not a secret that I grew up on Long Island. You can hear it in my voice.
Especially when he gets upset and he says things like horrible.
It is horrible, all right? So I grew up going to this aquarium in Riverhead, New York, called Atlantis Aquarium. And
I've been there.
Or it's now called the Long Island Aquarium, which is horrible that they changed it. Atlantis was a wonderful name for that aquarium when I was a kid.
I wonder if they got sued by the resort.
I'm sorry?
I wonder if they got sued by the resort.
It's honestly possible, but Scott, you've been there with me.
Mm-hmm.
We went my first AMH summer. We went out and we did a lot of fun Long Island things.
And we chaperoned your now girlfriend in the pool with the.
I'm really trying to avoid roasting her in the middle of a video she's going to watch without expecting it. But yes, she was about to go to. She had to go to a wedding that none of us were invited to, and she was wearing her dress to go to the wedding. And we were all playing in the like tide pool thing that they have there because she wanted to play with the crabs,
the horseshoe
crabs and everything. Yeah. So she's got her like dress hiked up all the way, like over her knees, holding it with one hand to not get it wet in the salt marsh while she's just leaning down to pick up crabs. It was a wonderful moment. So at this aquarium there was this there's this big tank that they have a lot of sharks in that has like a sub-level walkthrough. It's all beautiful.
Oh, it's so cool.
And they actually let you go into this tank in a shark cage, and there's
Wow.
sand tiger sharks. I think a couple different species of shark. They used to have giant green moray eels, which did not seem safe with the shark tank.
No,
because like they could definitely get in. But until it died, they had a gigantic loggerhead sea turtle in that tank too. And I remember this one moment where there was also a higher level viewing platform where you could just look down, and I was standing on it. I was a little kid. I was probably like 6 or 7. And the turtle just came out of nowhere and like breached and like took a big inhale, and just kind of like you could just see the whole surface of the shell in this enormous animal. And it just like rolled over and it kind of just dived again. And you saw the whole shell just disappear under the surface. And I had this moment where A, it was beautiful and very humbling in a very serene way. But B, I remember thinking this turtle must be nearly as big as Archelon, because that's one of the biggest things I've ever seen in my entire life. It was nowhere near as big as Archelon. This was a big turtle.
So one of the things that's interesting about Archelon is it's not a sea turtle.
That's true.
What?
I was helping you. And
oh, okay. All I heard was idiot, and I was like, why am I getting yelled at?
Sorry.
But yeah, so the protostegids are actually, if memory serves, a bit basal to the group that contains all extant marine turtles. So that means that sea turtles evolved to be marine, or turtles evolved to be marine twice, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not that I don't trust you, Scott, but I'm looking this right now.
That's fair.
Also just
Yeah,
because,
and I think
like for an animal like a sea turtle, for a turtle to become aquatic, I feel like is really ridiculous that it happened even once. Like just thinking about how, I mean, I guess not. Now I'm remembering that pond turtles are a thing and freshwater turtles exist, but like
generally speaking,
like I don't know, it's turtles like they began in the water, right? Or no? Am I mistaken? Like,
Maybe.
I don't think so. But
okay, never mind. We don't know, but
it's a huge debate. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. It's
odd.
odd. It would certainly be odd if it happened twice.
Yeah, but it does seem to have. Now, I'm going to look into this for when we make our video on this pack, because I don't know it offhand right now. But from what I understand, there's been a recent recognition that Archelon is a protostegid turtle, because for a long time it was reconstructed as essentially a gigantic leatherback turtle.
Yes.
And I don't know if that was based on an actual misunderstanding of its phylogenetic position, or if people were just like, well, that seems to be the best thing to base it off of, so we'll go with that.
So that is a relatively recent thing. And by relatively recent, I mean like it's like 2007.
Okay.
That there's some taxonomic reevaluations of it that back in like as recent before that as like 98 it was thought to be the closest relative was thought to be a leatherback sea turtle, and it actually there's a lot of similarities between them, that like it would have had a leather back. It would have looked very superficially similar, that it wouldn't have had a hard shell like we see in other turtles.
Right.
It also, this is a fun fact, grew the same. It has a very similar growth rate to leatherback sea turtles, but it seems to, in its proportions and the way that it's like built, it seems to not be as much of an open ocean cruising turtle like leatherbacks are, and seems to have lived a whole lot more similarly to like other sea turtles where they're relatively close to shore critters. But it probably wouldn't have been like eating a lot of soft-bodied things like a lot of modern sea turtles do.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's almost a leatherback sea turtle, but with like Christopher Moltisante's nose attached to it. Like,
that's great.
Just you want to make sure that it could smoke a cigarette in the rain.
Who is this person?
From The Sopranos?
Oh,
yeah.
Christopher.
Okay.
Christopher, I heard there's a huge turtle.
Christopher, you heard about this huge
Christopher,
turtle?
we gotta go get this goddamn turtle. Put it in.
He's an interior decorator. Anyway,
truck.
not to,
Christopher!
not to all over everything Scott just said, but that's what I'm about to do. Looking at least one topology, it appears that there's this group called
Chelonoidea.
Chelonoidea or something, and everything. So protostegids, I think, are pretty. I think they're all marine guys, and then everything they're sister to is also marine, and the most early diverging member of this group is something called Toxocheles, and I also think that's marine. So it looks like this might be a single origin of sea turtle.
Oh, they're just not in the family that includes.
They're on the
modern
stem.
sea
Modern
turtles.
sea
Yeah.
turtles.
Yeah, well, because
Okay.
they're like leatherback sea turtles and all the other sea turtles. Those are two separate families of sea turtles. They're closely related, but like, yeah.
All right, fine.
Well, I mean, but Scott's not wrong on one level. They didn't. I wouldn't say there's necessarily two marine origins, but there are multiple origins of living in the water for turtles. Like freshwater turtles do this too.
If we move the goalposts, then Scott can be right.
Oh wait,
Right.
I mean, like, you might be right in how they fucking evolved the first time, because if we are to uncritically like analyze the fossils, it's land, sea, land, everywhere.
Right.
Well, if I was going to be corrected on taxonomic stuff, I'm glad it happened from our resident taxonomic pedant.
That's literally my favorite thing to do.
So anyway, Archelon is in the game, and so are three other things.
I wonder what they're going to have it eat.
Yeah, probably fish.
Oh yeah.
Is my guess, but
Probably fish.
Probably fish. Like, I have heard some hypotheses that like it probably was at least pretty okay suited to catching and eating fish, but it does look like the beak structure is a bit, especially near the back, a bit more built to crush things.
Crush.
Dude,
Well, Scott,
how good is the
it's so
of the holotype?
Great. There's actually a couple really good skulls,
yeah.
including the one that you sent in the picture with Brady.
Oh,
That's a really nice skull in there.
I'm stupid. Yes, I forgot about that one. Anyways,
and fun fact, that one's the biggest one, and its name is Brigitte.
that's
I like that.
great. So we have permission from friend of the channel, Brady Holbach, preparator at the Royal Tyrrell Museum, to share his likeness. So he was tagged along with me on a trip to Europe recently, and there's this specimen at the Vienna Museum of Natural History, and it's insane how big it was. Like, we just stared at it for like 15 minutes. Like, Brady does like turtles quite a bit, but I may or may not have said during this version of the recording, they're cool, but I'm not like really invested in them. This thing is bonkers. So for context, for those of you who is most of you who don't know Brady's over 6 feet tall. It's a big turtle.
He's taller than me.
Yeah.
resident giant.
Yeah, isn't he like 6'4"?
6'3", 6'4", yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean,
Like, look at the size of the
I can't
skull
even
next to
see his
Brady's
head.
head. It's insane. It's like, we were losing our minds. It's great.
Wow.
It's a big turtle.
Yeah, and I think the Yale specimen...
I'm excited for it to be in the game.
Yeah, me too.
Sorry, delay.
Go
Go ahead, Amelia.
I'm trying. I think the Yale specimen, according to my Seaway Bible here, has flippers that are like nearly 16 feet across. Like, so from fingertip to fingertip, it's so
huge.
cool.
That's
The
a
Yale-
turtle. Mega Knight the turtle soup.
It's a
The
big
Yale
ravioli.
one was particularly impressive in its old mount before they have renovated the galleries, where you could get really close to it. There's pictures of it if you just Google Archelon, and you see a black and white photo
Oh, Stumpy.
of someone standing next to one and just touching it. That's how it was mounted, where it's just kind of like this. And now it's hanging up in a more dynamic pose. The pose is cool, but I do wish you could get closer to it.
One thing I want to say before we go is that one thing I'm super excited about with this is that by adding things to the marine lagoons, I'm going to be much more inclined to put these in my parks. Because what I haven't liked so far is generally it takes a lot of room. And you really, because of the way they've done the species interactions, unless you turn all that stuff off, which you can do, you kind of have to monopolize almost a quarter of your park to just one animal. And I don't think that that's a bad thing in terms of, you know, their mosasaurus is like, you know, half the distance between the Earth and Mars. And like, and it's like it would need a lot of space, right? That's why you can't have a humpback whale in an aquarium, right? They can't exist in normal size.
Humpback whale
like
74
tanks.
is unhappy.
Well, humpback whale 74 can get the over it.
Right, exactly. So I think what's going to be nice is that including a lot of these smaller animals that I don't think will necessarily be Terminator style annihilating everything else in their enclosure, is that you'll be able to do more diverse lagoons and use the space for more things, and I'm excited by that. Like, I think you can have Nothosaurus and Archelon in the same enclosure, and it doesn't make any sense temporally, but you can at least double up on the space and use them. It's not like, here's a quarter of my park, and it's for one individual mosasaurus that won't be happy anyway.
If you want to do Western Interior, then I guarantee, like Elasmosaurus and Styxosaurus already get along. So if you just toss in this giant frisbee of an animal in there, I doubt that they would like hate it or kill each other.
You know, it'd be cool
What?
if like Archelon could escape, like if there's a animation where it's being hunted, if it can escape to the rock, that might be kind of
cool.
neat. And you know, I just wanted to talk about this very, very, very quickly before we pieced out, because it is in the trailer, but like there are underwater viewing platforms, and I think that maybe now if your marine reptiles are upset, instead of bonking their heads against the side of a concrete wall, which was sad, they may instead attack your viewing like things. And I'm picturing in my head, and I hope they do it, like the animation, like it busts, like, and then like people have to swim to the surface, and there's just like a mosasaur that just kind of comes by and is like, ngum.
We can only hope.
I would like that.
Ngum.
Like
that's
that,
fingers crossed.
It's like that bit in the original Meg movie where it bites the glass.
0% on Rotten Tomatoes, folks.
18.
It's higher now.
Oh, is it? It's defined. That's great. That's a really good sign for a movie where it starts at 0 and then climbs to less than 20.
I want the record to show that I sent a text to Rob earlier today asking, hey, you want to go see the Meg 2 next week? It debuted at 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, and he has not responded. He is currently online playing Final Fantasy XIV. Rob, I see you.
Thank you for watching this video. We'll do, once this DLC drops, we'll do a video about these animals where we can talk about their biology in some detail and show more angles of them. But for right now, I think we can suffice it to say we're all very excited to see them and get to welcome some more wet critters to our increasingly wet and wild Jurassic World.
Yeah.
And we're doing all 4 in one video, so don't ask.
It's our beach episode.
Right, our job is now beach.
Well, his job is beach. Look at them. They're on the beach.
They are beach.
His job is beach.
Just beach. What a good film.
Movie.
Okay. This is the Skeleton Crew signing off.
We need to
well, right.
thank our patrons at the Gorgosaurus tier and higher.
All right. Yes. So we're going to have all of our patrons in the credits because that's how that works. So your name will be scrolling on screen right now in the video.
Or maybe
but
right
of course,
now. Or maybe right now.
Or maybe right now. We have no idea exactly when it happens. I'll figure that out in editing. But what I do know will happen is that we'll have our patrons who are supporting us at Gorgosaurus tier and higher called out specifically by name as a thank you for their support. And those people at current, I'm just trying to sort it on Patreon because I don't want to get anybody left out, are Benjamin Siepser, Philip Fico, Andrew Niddle, Florida Man, Max Ironpaw, Riley Sharrow, and Wheat. Thank you all for your support. Thank you to those specially generous patrons, but thank you to all of our patrons. Your generosity really helps us dedicate the time and energy we need to keep the channel running and keep making these videos as good as we can make them. And we really thank you for all of your support. So with that, this is the Skeleton Crew signing off. We'll see you tomorrow for our regularly scheduled Jurassic World Evolution 2 video.
Bye-bye.
See you soon, everybody.